I don't know what the fuck is going on right now. This was 2 days ago. But apparently there's a bunch of bullshit going on. Specifically talking about Phrolovas' story. Now, if I'm correct, it's mostly centered around one person. As far as I know, but I don't know the full context of this. Me personally, before we get into this, for anybody who's wondering how I feel about Phrolovas' story, it was freaking peak. It was peak. I'm not gonna lie to you. I didn't have any words to say after it was over. Like, straight up, I wasn't even gonna pull for Phrolovas. But after her story, I was like, I'm not even gonna lie. I might go for it. And if I lose my 50-50, oh well. But if I don't, hey, it's fine. Whatever. And I ended up winning my 50-50. So now I got one copy of Phrolovas. I didn't go for a weapon, obviously, because I'm saving for, obviously, the next patch that we're supposed to have in the next 18 days. So, yeah, but apparently there's a lot of heat going on right now around this, her story, and some people reviewing it, or I think it's one person specifically reviewing it. That's all I do know. And the only reason I even stumbled upon this is because I saw something on Twitter while I was looking on there and seeing some bullshit. And honestly, it's probably more pointless nonsense, but I want to see what it is, because sometimes it could be, it could be actually making some sense. Sometimes though, or I can't even say sometimes, a lot of the times it's just pointless bullshit, which is why I'm going to be real when it comes to these gacha communities. I don't interact with them at all. Like, I really don't. Not that often, because it's just pointless. It's usually a bunch of people from Withering Waves either getting attacked by Genshin or doing the attacking. People caring about gacha charts that don't fucking matter, because 90% of the time it's all mobile, and honestly, who's flexing how much money you're giving to a company, bro? Like, I'm gonna be real with you. Who's actually flexing that kind of shit? Like, that's a whole nother level of parasocial, if you ask me. But either way, we're gonna go ahead, take a look at what's going on here. I don't know why Asmongold's here for this, but hey, shit. Well, here we go, man. I don't know how Asmongold got put up into this, but I really hope it ain't nothing about him. I really hope it ain't. I really doubt it, because he's been playing Battlefield for the last couple of days. So, yeah, without further ado, let's go ahead and see what kind of nonsense is going on here. Because, I don't know, man, the gacha community needs to chill the fuck out. I feel like if the gacha community talked more about their story than what money makes more than this, then we could really get some shit done. I'm not gonna lie to you. I don't mind criticizing the games. That's something I will never mind doing, because the only way games are gonna get better is if you criticize them. But all the rest of the bullshit, if it ain't talking about the lore, if it ain't talking about the characters, maybe power scaling a little bit, though, to people be honest, like, power scaling really doesn't matter in gacha games. I'm gonna be real, thank the Lord, because people be doing that kind of shit in the anime community, and it's a pain in the ass. But let's go ahead and get straight into this and see what kind of nonsense we've gotten ourselves into this time.
Tectone mocks the gacha community.
Oh boy, we're already starting off with
We're in
Tectone.
charge. We're the gacha community, and we're proud. We gotta stop these bad guys in this community. They didn't like this as much as me. We're gonna take their channel down. Gacha heroes assemble!
I mean, is he wrong though? A lot of the times, I don't know what it is with the tribalism. Like, I really don't know what it is. Everybody's gonna have their own opinion about a game or a story or whatever it may be. At the end of the day, it's just an opinion. It ain't a fact. Maybe you enjoyed the story, somebody else didn't. It is what it is. The only thing I gotta say to that is, if you paid attention to the story and you still don't like it, I'm all good with that. But if you were out there just not half paying attention or not doing what, you were just kind of skimming through it, then I'm gonna be real, your opinion's invalid, because you weren't even paying attention in the first place. Because there's a lot of that goes around, where people will go into a story, not pay no attention to the story, or probably don't even play the story at all, and then try and run around and say it's trash. It's like, did you even play the shit? Were you even paying attention? Because otherwise, your opinion don't mean nothing. But that's just me.
I'm gonna make an internet meme. I'm gonna make an internet
This shit is
meme
wild, though.
on
I'm not
this
gonna
guy.
lie.
My name's Genazad. This thing that everybody likes is actually really shit, actually. We got him, guys. Make sure to go like my Twitter post. Gotcha Community Heroes. Good Lord. Jesus.
This is all of this. I want you to understand that these are all grown, middle-aged men that are fighting over a story about an anime girl.
Middle-aged men, like probably to like the age of 18 to 20 to like 30 something. I don't know. Like, yeah, the content creators themselves are mostly, you know, older, but a lot of the nonsense that goes on online, a lot of them is kids. Let's be real with ourselves. A lot of them are kids.
The recent drama surrounding the Wuthering Waves 2.5 story has spiraled. A complex situation has been flattened and distorted, and a false narrative is starting to take hold. One that
You know what's crazy is I saw nothing but praise when this story first came out. So why now? Why now? Like how many months is it? How many days has it been? How many weeks has it been since the story is done? Why now is it that this crap is pulling up? I thought everybody was in agreement that the story was all right. It was good, and that this is what we wanted. Like, what the fuck is the drama all about? Like, I swear to God, we can't go a damn patch without some bullshit.
The entire Wuthering Waves community as a bunch of crybabies who have a meltdown anytime someone doesn't praise the game as much as they're liking. That is an incomplete picture to say the least. My goal here is to set the record straight, rather than adding more fuel into the fire or calling out any single person for drama. I want to lay out the full timeline of events with context so that you, the viewer, can see the entire situation and form your own judgment.
Yeah, we're gonna do that because I don't know what the fuck is going on here. I'm gonna be real. Alright, what the... Yeah, I don't even know what the hell this is, bro. I don't know what this is.
Dive in, we need to set some ground rules. A few disclaimers are necessary so we are all starting from the same page. First and most importantly, this is not an excuse for harassment. Going out of your way to insult a creator as a person, to send them vitriol or threats, that is never acceptable. This video is an analysis of public actions and their consequences.
I'm gonna be real, when I say the first disclaimer, I'm gonna be real, that's already out the window. People have already probably been cooking whoever the hell that we're about to start talking about. Like, once again, when it comes to this kind of stuff, yeah, obviously the disclaimer is good to have, but people are going to do it anyway. These kids are immature as fuck, and if you couldn't tell just by how the Genshin community would treat the freaking Honkai Star Rail community at some point or another, or even their own VAs, let alone when Honkai Star Rail started beefing with freaking Genshin, and now you got freaking... pretty much Hoyo versus Kuro right now. Like, I'm sorry, these kids don't give a shit. There's like, there's no maturity up in Twitter at all. There's like zero of it. Zero.
Second, two things can be true at once. Going out of your way to insult a creator over their personal rating of a video game story is, frankly, cringe. It is counterproductive. But at the same time, Genozad's reaction to the initial criticism went beyond a poor response. It became an incendiary escalation that poured gasoline on the fire. We will be looking at both of these things. And finally, a personal note. Some of you might know that I have in the past defended Genozad during a separate incident where people were using a vulnerable moment of mine to attack him.
But Genozad is here too, bro. What says he care but hasn't even E6? F you, man. I cried like a mother, man.
That was a completely different situation.
I don't know what that is. I'm gonna be real, but alright.
The attacks were unfair. What we are discussing today are his own public actions in this specific conflict. The two are not related, and my goal is to be as fair as possible to the facts. With that foundation laid, let's get into what actually happened, and the story begins in an unexpected place, with a victory. To understand why things went so sideways, we first have to understand the community itself. There is a unique dynamic between the Wuthering Waves player base and the developer Kuro Games. Through a well-documented history of the developers listening intently to feedback and rapidly improving the game, an unusual bond was formed. The community feels less like simple consumers and more like protective stakeholders, deeply invested in the game's direction. And heading into the 2.5 update, all of that investment was focused on one thing: the story's antagonist, Phrolovas. There was a very specific widespread fear. In gacha games, there is a predictable pattern where a compelling villain becomes popular, gets a tragic backstory, and a change of heart, and suddenly stops being a villain so they can be sold to you.
Though, to be honest, yeah, no, I saw a lot of that on Twitter. I'm gonna be real. I saw a lot of that on Twitter, though, to be honest, a lot of it was stupid shit. It was a bunch of kids. It's like, I don't know what it is, but there's like two groups on Twitter right now when it comes to Kuro. Or not Kuro, but when it comes to Wuthering Waves right now, it's like, you got one group who wants, you know, Kuro to stop making female characters, because apparently I guess they're getting tired of the whole thing with, you know, all the female characters being shipped with Rover. Though, to be honest, I don't know where they're seeing that at. I would only say probably 2 of those characters could possibly be that, and that's Cardathea and Shorekeeper. So I don't know where there's that. And then you got the other half, which basically sees those people as, like, I don't know, either Hoyo fans who are basically just making up bullshit, or that they're just like, I don't know, they just hate female characters. I don't know, it's some bullshit, but like the main consensus was you had one half that kind of wanted Frolova to just be another main love interest just to spite the freaking one other group, and you had the other group that wanted her to stay evil and all that shit just so they could talk shit about the other group. And on top of that, have the story being good, I guess. I don't know. It was some stupid shit. Me personally, I didn't care. And honestly, if you really thought that Frolova was actually going to turn good, you were stupid anyway. There's no way in hell that was about to happen. There's literally no way, with all the stuff that the Fraxitive had done, there was no way in hell that she was going to be turned good. There's no way. No freaking way. No way in hell that she was going to be turned into some good guy. That was not going to happen. Now, can you, maybe sympathize with what she had to go through and why she's doing what she's doing? Sure, fine. But there's no way in hell that, especially with how Rover really acts, especially near the end, like you just saw from how the story started, like Rover was not playing no games. With the Order, with the Fraxidus, with Phrolovas, nothing, bruh. She was not playing, he or she, depending on who you're playing, the main MC was not messing around. So there was like no way in hell that Phrolovas was going to turn into some good guy. Like, I don't know why anybody was scared of that in the first place. Like, I understand your fears, obviously, but to be honest, a lot of them were stupid. Like, a lot of the people's fears were stupid and unfounded anyways, because the main characters, the characters that we've interacted with when it comes to Rover and everything like that, they're either one of two things. Close friends, and the only two that you could really say, and maybe you could probably throw a third one in there, would be like relationship status, would be once again Cardathea, Shorekeeper, and maybe Carlotta. Maybe. That's a big maybe. I don't know, man. I don't know. But that's besides the point. I don't really care about all that anyways. But yeah, that's like the gist of what I was seeing around this. I didn't really hear anybody else complaining about that kind of shit. I did see a lot of people talking nonsense and all that. So that's what I saw. But hey, I already knew that she wasn't going to turn good. I knew she wasn't going to turn good. I didn't know how they were going to do it with us working with her, but I knew that there's no way.
Is a trope that can completely deflate any narrative stakes. The community was worried Frolova would fall into this exact pipeline. Content creator Marco Meatball put this into words perfectly, saying he was deeply concerned that the game would start justifying its monetization by dumbing down its characters, making the entire world feel cheap. He wasn't alone as well. This was the test. Could Kuro resist the easy path and deliver a story with teeth? And then the update arrived.
I mean, they already did. Like, Scar's still evil. Phrolovas, technically, while dead but also alive, I still don't know the whole thing behind that. Technically, she's still not a good guy. Cristoforo, he sure as fuck ain't a good guy. Like, I don't know why people were concerned about this in the first place, because all the villains we have had, whether it be the Thernodians or the Fraxidus, none of them have ever turned to some good guy out of nowhere. I don't know where the concern was at.
And Kuro delivered. By an overwhelming consensus, the 2.5 story was a triumph. The community erupted. On forums and social media, people called it pure cinema, hailing it as a new benchmark for narrative quality. They got exactly what they wanted. Frolova remained a complex, compelling, and ultimately villainous character without a cheap redemption arc. This acclaim was also widespread. You had measured positive reviews from respected voices like Kacha Smack. Even creators famously loyal to the competition, like the community labeled Hoyo shill, Mr. Pokey, gave the story a high rating. When your rival's biggest supporters admit that you did a good job.
I didn't even know that Mr. Pokey was still playing Withering Waves. I thought he was still playing Epic 7. He might be still playing, because I don't know if he's still playing Honkai Star Rail or not, but last I saw, he was still playing Honkai Star Rail, and then he switched to Epic 7 at some point or another. I didn't know he even played Withering Waves like that.
created something of genuine quality. So this is the scene. A deeply invested community celebrating a shared collective victory. The 2.5 story...
Like, is he not on a contract with Hoyoverse still? Or did he not? Is he like I don't care really that much, but I'm pretty sure with the contracts with Hoyoverse, you're not even allowed to really play competitors' games. If am I wrong, or am I tripping? I thought if you signed a contract with Hoyoverse, the only thing you could play was Hoyoverse games, like, you know, Zenless Zone Zero, Zenless Zone Zero, Genshin Impact, and Honkai Star Rail. I thought you couldn't play any competitor games, but that I might be wrong, but I thought that's what the contract was.
He transcended being simple content and became a symbol, a testament to their faith in the developers being rewarded. It is important to establish this baseline because it shows this was a community celebrating, not one primed for a fight. Into this atmosphere of near universal praise, the first real note of drama appeared, coming from a content creator named Genizad. This is where the story actually begins. To understand everything that follows, it is critical to be precise about how it began, because the popular version of this story gets it wrong. Genizad streamed his playthrough of the story quest, and according to numerous accounts from his own audience, his engagement with the story was compromised. He was seen talking over important cutscenes, constantly interacting with his chat, and generally not giving the narrative his full attention. You can have a look at this clip right here.
Uh-oh. Jesus Christ, okay. Well. 07. You love his art style? Yeah, it's actually pretty cool looking. I wish every cutscene just looked like this. Can't too expensive. It's probably hard to make these kind of cutscenes. I don't know anything about it though. I have no concept of how hard it is. With how much money they make, it's no excuse. I think it's more just like the time. I don't know how long it takes to make these. Probably pretty long. Boku no Pico clears this? So true, King. Let AI do that in the future, it will.
And after finishing, he gave it a 7 out of 10. His main justification was that he found the plot confusing and Phrolovas' dialogue too poetic, which diminished his experience.
I don't know, man. Shit, I can't say nothing really because I didn't watch the whole entire stream. I'd have to watch his whole stream to see if he was actually paying attention, but considering that apparently a lot of his stream was saying that he wasn't paying attention, and it kind of looked like he wasn't really paying too much of attention during that portion. It's one of those things, like I said in the beginning, everybody can have their own opinion. There's no problem with that. But when you're talking about having an opinion, the score really isn't what people can probably care about in this. It's the fact that he said the story was confusing, but he wasn't even paying any attention. Because for me, I paid attention for me, I don't know. I paid attention during the whole entire thing. I understood everything.
In a sea of 9s and 10s, a 7 will stand out, but the initial backlash came primarily from his own viewers and focused on his own process. Their argument was fundamentally simple. You cannot fairly judge a story for being confusing if you weren't giving the attention required to be understood. It is like skimming through the pages in a mystery novel and then complaining the ending feels unearned. The critique itself becomes illegitimate because the person delivering it didn't do the basic work, or at least that's how people saw it. This gets to the absolute core of the initial
that's
conflict.
fair.
As one person later summarized it, 99%
that's fair, but I'm gonna be real with you when I say this. I still don't think it deserves all this nonsense that's going on, but fair.
of people do not care about the rating. They cared more about him not paying attention. The community was policing the perceived fairness and diligence of his review rather than his opinion itself. The 7 out of 10 became a symbol of what they saw as low effort critique, and that perceived breach of contract is where the fire actually started. So right now we have this contained dispute. What happened next turned that small fire into a firestorm. In response to this criticism, Genizad had what can only be described as an on-stream meltdown, a crash out.
Comments mad because I yapped during story. I don't care what they think. Curl bots are a waste of breath, bro. They're worthless. I do not care what those people.
Wait, so instead of actually talking about the situation and, you know, giving their thoughts on it, they decided to just go straight to insults. Okay, now I know why everybody's pissed. Because it's one thing, once again, like, I could care less, like, what's again, somebody's opinion on the game or not, whatever. And I guess in this case, the opinion's not really fair in a sense because they weren't really paying attention. Oh well, no big deal. But then going and doing all this shit, this is extra as fuck. Crashing out over this is crazy. The right response to this, at least in my opinion, would be, talk about the concerns that people had and then leave it at that. Because afterwards, that's it. But doing all this is crazy.
I haven't even looked at the comments. I have a bunch of notifications on YouTube. Do not care what they think. You know, I'm down to read comments for videos. It's not even worthwhile reading comments when it's about Wuthering Waves, because it's just the dumbest humans in existence always comment. It's not worth it. They're too stupid to live.
That's crazy. I'm not gonna lie.
It's like, I like Wuthering Waves, but like, man, the online community is just insane, bro. Yeah, they try to pretend that they're so much better than Hoyo, but like, they're also shitty. Both can be shitty, man. They always say the craziest shit. Even though I play more Wuthering Waves than them, even though I spend more money on Wuthering Waves.
Okay, brother. Are we really pulling the enviosity bullshit right now? Are we really doing that? We out here trying to act superior because you play a game more than somebody else, and maybe, honestly, I don't know why people care about, why people flex the fact that they're spending more money than others on a gacha game. That's so stupid. If anything, that makes you look dumb as hell. Like, unless you're being paid directly by Wuthering Waves to spend money on the game, you flexing that you spend more money than anybody else on Genshin, wuwa, or any gacha game for that matter, just makes you look dumb as hell. It really does. Like, once again, what in the enviosity is this shit? Now, I can understand now why people are crashing out on this dude. Because it's one thing to say the story is, whatever, and it's confusing, and, because you weren't paying attention. Whatever, honestly, that's not even the big deal. But to be doing all this crashing out and bullshit all because people are calling you out for not paying attention during the story and then saying the story is confusing is crazy. Because all you once again had to do was address people's concerns. And then after that, leave it at that. Because at the end of the day, an opinion's opinion. People can deal with that, whether they like it or not. But doing all this shit, yeah, I'm going to be real. You kind of deserve to get cooked. Like, I don't condone it, but I'm going to be real. Kind of deserved, because what in the enviosity is this?
Than them, even though I probably enjoy the game more than them, and that's why I actually...
What in the superiority complex is this?
You know what? Why am I being invited to Curl Fest?
His defense of the review quickly turned into him lashing out.
What is this superiority complex?
Declaring that the Wuthering Waves community Kurobots didn't deserve to live. He had stopped engaging with the critique and began a broadside
what in the low
attack
tier
against
god
an
is
entire
that?
group. He then compounded this by adopting a strange elitist stance, suggesting his opinion should matter more because he had spent more money on the game and he was invited to
you know how stupid that sounds? There's so many people that spend money on gacha games that don't know jack shit about the story. Don't know nothing about the story. I'm sorry, but you saying that because you spend more money on the game, your opinion should matter more has got to be the dumbest take of all time. Once again, we already had one person do that with the Genshin community, aka Enviosity, and we all saw how that went. Dude got fucking fried. Like, what is this? All you had to do was basically address the comments, whether you wanted to or not. And then make a video or something, maybe even make a post. It doesn't have to be anything crazy, explaining why you think that the story is whatever it is. And then that's it. Just leave it at that. Call it a day. Move on. But instead, you decide to crash out while you're streaming, talking about how some people don't deserve to live because they're criticizing you on your take, and how because you spend more money or maybe play the game more, which you don't even know, or because you maybe get invited out by some, like, what does that even mean? Like, none of that means anything. Like, Jesus Christ, what is that? Like, once again, I don't permit the hate and shit, because honestly, this is a gacha game. There shouldn't be any of this in the first place. But honestly, I don't blame people for doing what they're doing, because they were only criticizing you on the game and how you weren't paying attention during the story. That's why they don't really accept your review, which is whatever, because everybody's stuff is subjective to each other. But doing all this is crazy work. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Fest. It was a bizarre argument that only served to alienate people further. Instead of addressing the calm critiques in his own comments, he went to Twitter. He found a few extreme tweets from random users, which reframed the entire body of criticism as a work of trolls, rather than the legitimate grievances of his own audience. This all eventually led to what many now consider one of the worst apology videos in the gacha space. Reactions from other creators found it to be a masterclass in non-apology. He was described as shadow boxing against arguments that nobody made, spending most of the video justifying his 7 out of 10 score while barely addressing the on-stream meltdown that—
Yeah, which once again, he should have addressed that in the first place. The 7 out of 10 nonsense or score, he should have been addressing that in the first place instead of doing all that crashing out that he was doing. He should have been addressing that. That would have solved the whole problem. Like, what is bro doing? That would literally solve the whole entire problem. Instead of crashing out like an idiot, like a child on stream and calling people names and shit because they didn't like your review and you, I guess, didn't want to go and explain that shit, you decided to go and start calling people names, start trying to act like you're better than people because whatever, you spend more money or some shit, which once again, how are we going to calculate that shit? Because I know that there's whales out there who ain't content creators who probably spent a lot more money than you, my dude. Like, what are we doing? What are we doing? Like, if we go by your logic, Tectone probably got more money put into freaking wuwa than you do. Dude, literally C6 freaking Cardathea. Like, what are we talking about? Or at least I think he's C6 Cardathea. Let me know if I'm wrong or not, but I'm pretty sure he's C6 Cardathea. Like, what are we doing?
That caused the real explosion. The top comment of his video put it perfectly. Bro will talk about anything but the crash out. 7 out of 10. It is important to be perfectly clear here. The personal insults directed at Genocide are, in no uncertain terms, unacceptable. Crashing out over someone's rating is cringe. But it is equally clear that Genocide's reaction was a disproportionate and incendiary escalation. He fundamentally transformed the conflict. It was no longer a debate about a video game review.
Yeah, now this isn't even a debate about the freaking story no more. This is them basically crashing out on him because he crashed out on the wuwa community as a whole for some dumbass reason. I don't know why. Because not everybody in the wuwa community was probably even like that. It's mostly his own audience that's crashing out on him. And he decided to go full elitist mode on everybody. Like, what the fuck are we doing?
By insulting the entire community, he made it a matter of respect. He was trying to win an argument. The community was now trying to recover from an insult. That is a very different kind of conversation. Now, the conflict was a public spectacle, and like any spectacle, the story began to change as it spread, losing its nuance. The conflict got spread into the wider
Also, whoever the hell is playing this chick show is going
largely
crazy
and mischaracterized. The primary vector for this was the influential creator Tectone. After hearing Genozade's side, the complex situation was boiled down to a simple, dramatic, and incorrect talking point. Wuthering Waves fans are harassing a creator over a 7 out of 10 score.
Uh-oh. Yeah, Wuthering Waves community is so different from Genshin's community, huh? Yeah, only the Genshin community would go in on a...
See, you know what's funny about this with Tectone is... Recently, I saw some posts going around, and I could care less, honestly, at this point. But recently, I saw some posts going around about how Tectone, I guess, had turned against the wuwa community and kind of was like, you know, talk about how the wuwa community is just like the Genshin community, which honestly, for the extremists out there, they're pretty much one and the same. It's the same bullshit. Only difference is, as far as I know, we ain't doxing people out. As far as I know, the extremists on the, you know, the wuwa side haven't been out here doxing people or anything like that, or, you know, crazy stuff. But same old bullshit on Twitter. And people got pissed off at, you know, Tectone for that shit because it's like, hey, weren't you the one who started all this in the first place? You know, weren't you the one talking about, you know, Genshin could never, yada, 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 and talking all this nonsense? Like, weren't y'all the ones, you know, weren't you the one who started this? But once again, I could care less. People got Tectone rent-free in their heads anyways, so I'm not surprised they just started blaming him for why the wuwa community is the way it is now, which is crazy because, I'm going to be real, and Tectone, he's one person. He can't control your actions. But, yeah, no, I don't know.
A content credit for giving someone a 7 out of 10, huh? Oh, man. Man, oh, man. What a egotistical bastard. What a piece of shit. What a massive scumfuck degenerate. Oh. Hey, I warned everybody. Daddy was gone for 3 months, and look at the mess we've made. And here's the thing, man, I'm not cleaning it up this time.
This new narrative was patent. It was easy to understand, dramatic, perfectly into the drama farming economy of online content, quickly becoming the dominant version of events for outsiders. And yet, this version of the story is demonstrably false when you look at the community's history. Take the case of Doro44. He made a video that was 95% praise, but even he received significant backlash. The reason? The backlash stemmed from a very small segment where the community felt like he was being hypocritical about his stance on fan service compared to other games, right? Their issue was with the perceived lack.
I did not see that at all, but then again, once again, you guys already know I don't really interact myself with that much with all this garbage in the first place. I didn't even know about that. And honestly, both games, if we're talking Genshin and wuwa, they've been having fan service, bro, like since 1.0. Like, bro, people were simping over Eula and Yelan and all these other characters from the jump, let alone when we got to freaking in Inazuma back when I was playing, and people were simping for Raiden Shogun and, you know, was it frick, why did I cannot Yai Miko and all that shit? Like, it was ridiculous back then. Once again, like back then with Genshin Impact, it was one of those things, like if you criticize somebody's ship back then, like especially Raiden Shogun and Yai Miko, because there's a lot of shipping going on. It was looking like the My Hero Academia community back then. People be out there doxing youths and death threats, all sorts of bullshit. It was ridiculous.
Of consistency and fairness. Similarly, the drama around the creator EO saw the community push back because he had a habit of posting incredibly vague critiques. When he was asked for clarification, he would crash out. The core problem was the complete lack of substance. Looking at
I'm gonna be real, the last thing I saw with EO was that people were crashing out on him because he was talking about how everybody had no skill in ZZZ and that there is no HP inflation, even though there is. And that it's not a problem, it's just you need skill. That's the last thing I saw about EO.
These cases together, a clearer pattern emerges. This isn't a community that rejects criticism. It is a community that rejects what it perceives as low effort, bad faith, or hypocritical criticism. The entire drama boils down to one thing. This community has a powerful, almost allergic immune response to misinformation and, for the lack of better term, bullshit. They get mad when they feel someone is making things up or arguing unfairly, and they will call it out. This is where the toxic community label becomes such a useful, powerful rhetorical weapon. It allows a creator to preemptively invalidate any criticism. By framing the community as inherently toxic, any pushback, no matter how well reasoned, can simply be dismissed as more proof to that toxicity.
That is true, because if they can just label a whole community as toxic, then that means none of their opinions mattered in the first place. None of the critiques, none of the anything. Even if they are true, which in this case, both sides, I would say, the community crashing out on him for a 7 out of 10 review, and him crashing out on the whole wuwa community and trying to ride this high horse as if his opinion matters better because he spends more money or plays the game more or some crap. That they're both in the wrong there. I'm gonna be real with you, but when it comes to the whole thing, it was on Genocide there. I'm gonna be real with you, mostly to kind of explain his critique and just leave it as it is instead of crashing out. That's my opinion, is that despite all the nonsense, as a content creator, especially with you having a following, it would have been better for him to explain his 7 out of 10 and why he thinks of that way, and then just leave it, because at the end of the day, it's just an opinion. Who cares? Nobody would have crashed out, or this probably wouldn't have even gotten this far if he didn't do what he did, which is instead basically pull a freaking low-tier god and an enviosity all in one video. I still think the whole thing's stupid, but it would never gotten to this point if he just took the mature way out, I guess, instead of the normal crash out route.
That shifts the burden of proof from the person making a flawed argument onto the community trying to correct it. With the narrative completely distorted, the conflict seemed destined to burn on indefinitely in a perfect feedback loop. And then we got a pivotal moment of de-escalation. This came in the form of a recorded stream call between Saint Tontus and Tectone. In this conversation, Saint Tontus acted as a conduit for the community, methodically laying out the full nuanced context.
I'm not gonna lie, Saint Tontus being the one to do this shit is crazy, because a lot of people in the wuwa community community or even in the Genshin community hate him so much.
He calmly explained that the initial issue was about the review process, and the subsequent firestorm was a reaction to personal insults, separate from the 7 out of 10 score. And I think this call seemed to work. The immediate creator-on-creator conflict cooled down. However, as the heat dissipated, the focus of the conversation began to shift. As often happens when these conflicts widen, the discussion moved from the specifics of the incident to a more general systemic problem. The new subject became the broad, abstract concept of gacha tribalism. This shift in focus, whether intentional or not, had a clear effect. When the conversation turns to a massive issue like tribalism, the actions of any single individual naturally fade into the background. It becomes a discussion about the entire forest, and the specific trees that started the fire are easily forgotten. It is a much broader and in many ways easier topic to discuss than a messy personal controversy. The unfortunate consequence of this pivot, however, was that the community's original legitimate grievances were largely left behind. While the interpersonal drama between creators found a path to resolution, the core complaints about the review process and the subsequent insults ended up being sidelined. And so the drama quote-unquote ends, not with a resolution to the central issue, but with the conversation changing entirely, setting the stage for similar misunderstandings to happen.
Actually, I'm looking at the chat while I'm looking at this. This right here is facts. People started to hyper-analysis and dig into his reason because it was a 7 out of 10. That is facts. That's basically what the community did at that point. So he was in the right there, you know, stating his opinion and leaving it as it is. Where this all fucked up is where instead of making a video or maybe a tweet about his opinion and leaving it at that, where he did not do that and instead decided to crash out, that's when it all fell on him. Because now you go from talking about the story to insulting everybody. And try to act like, once again, you're on some high horse and that you're better than everybody else because you spend more money or play the game more, which, once again, we can't even quantify that. Like, come on now. The whole shit literally is a nothing burger if you really want to put it that way. It really is a nothing burger, and it should never even got this far. It should never even got this far. You could say that this would never happen if everybody just would have just accepted his opinion and called it a day, and you ain't wrong in that case. But I feel like, once again, as a content creator, especially a huge one who has a huge community, it's kind of a responsibility that if your own community is kind of like, you know, I would say mad or like kind of confused about something that you said, that making a video, making a tweet, making something to kind of dispel the nonsense and to just leave it at that would have been a lot better than crashing out on your own community. And then not only crashing out on your own community, trying to label basically the whole entire Withering Waves community as people who don't deserve to live and people, you know, who I'm better than because I put more money in, I get invited out to like all that other bullshit that doesn't matter. That's my stance on this.
All over again, just like it did 5 months ago and 7 months ago. We are going to fight the same battles again and again and again and again and again.
Did I ever tell you what the definition of insanity is?
This was never truly about a 7 out of 10 score.
Nope.
That was just the spark. The conflict was a domino effect. It began with a review people felt was unfair because the creator seemed distracted. It blew up when the same creator had a massive, insulting crash out on his stream. And finally, as the story was picked up and retold by other big creators, it was
They just got out of
down
control.
to its most basic.
Like, basically what people did is, it was first of them talking about the 7 out of 10. He crashed out. People got pissed at him for the crash out, respectfully. Honestly, I'm not surprised they did, because the crash out was stupid. And then once these other gacha creators got onto it, they basically simplified it down to gacha community mad over an opinion, and that's it. They didn't even talk about the crash out part. And while people getting mad over an opinion is stupid, in my opinion, once again, simpling it down to that after the crash out portion was kind of just dumb. But then again, are we really surprised? Are we really surprised? Anything for clicks and views, you know?
parts, losing the complicated truth in the process. This brings us to the label toxic positivity. What this incident and others like it show is that this label is often a rhetorical weapon. It is a tool used to dismiss a community that, as the evidence suggests, values the fairness above the praise. They are not fighting against criticism. They are fighting against what they perceive to be misinformation and bad faith engagement. This is the same battle that has been fought in this space for months. A reoccurring clash between a player base that values substance and a content ecosystem that can at times prioritize spectacle. Well, ultimately, this conflict is a system of a deeper dysfunction. The exasperation from the community, the feeling of talking to a brick wall, it stems from this fundamental breakdown in communication. But I guess that's my observation of the situation. Leave your thoughts below, and as always, that is all from
Yeah, no, that's pretty much it. It's stupid. It's stupid, I'm gonna be real with you, but I was trying to figure out what the fuck was going on, because I'm like, why the fuck are we still talking about this in the first place? Not that I don't want people to talk about the story, because it was great, but like, why are we, what the fuck are we having drama over this for? Like, as far as I saw, the last time I saw anything about the story talking about Phrolovas, everybody was talking positive. So when I saw this shit, I'm looking at like, I'm like, what the fuck? What happened? But hey, normal shit, I guess, in the gotcha community, I guess. Like, when this shit will end, who knows, but hey, I guess we now know the full story. Once again, I think it's both the community's fault and his, but it's more on the content creator's fault because he decided to crash out instead of actually kind of like addressing everything proper way. That's me, personally, though, because that's what I would have done. If people think my opinion doesn't really matter because either I wasn't paying attention or whatever, all I would have done is put out my opinion on the story, my thoughts, everything else, still gave it the same rating or whatever, and then say, you know, if you don't like my rating, that's fine. If you do like it, that's fine. But at the end of the day, it's just my opinion, and called it a day. I would not have gone on stream and start talking about, oh, Kurobots don't deserve to be listened to. They deserve to die. Or that, you know, oh, I spend more money. We ain't doing all that. But that's just me. But hey, for anybody who does see this video, make sure to leave a like, subscribe to the channel. Honestly, this is really stupid in my opinion, but I want to hear your guys' thoughts are down below, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.